What's up, everybody? Welcome to Creators Live. Good to be back. I missed you guys. All right, so I've been wanting to cover this topic for a couple of weeks now. We're gonna go into, oh, there's our lights. We're gonna be going into maintenance. Super important topic. A lot of folks here in the group are on the newer side, and it's always good to kind of touch back to those base topics. So before we get started, as my regulars, Victor Rubio, Michelle, you guys should know by now, we got to have those cameras on. Thank you, Mr. Matthew. We got to have those cameras on. This is, supposed to be an interactive class experience situation, and the best way to interact is to have that camera on, get that face-to-face, so that when you have questions, you can raise your hand, either using the raise hand function or just actually raising your hand if you have your camera on. We've got Emily from our front desk area. Thank you for joining us, Emily. Everybody say hi to Emily. She processes a lot of your guys' orders. So now you have a face to the name. Okay, all right, so we're gonna start off with something that I've really missed, wins. We got some wins to collect today. Let's see here. Let's start with Michelle, since Victor is on the phone. I was going to pick on him first, but Michelle, you drew the short straw here. Michelle, share with us a win that you've had from the last week or two that you can share with the group.
I got an order. I've been trying to do more social media advertising, and just had an order that I had to have done in 3 days. 86 shirts front and back, and was able to get it done in 2 days, which I was happy about.
Sweet. Which machine do you have? Do you have the FreeJet or the DTF?
The FreeJet, the Plus.
Nice. Okay.
I love it.
Good. All right. And then we've got someone in. Thank you so much for sharing.
Oh, no problem.
So that is a really great win. So everybody, round of applause there. Someone in the chat says name unknown for their name. If you want to just drop your name into the chat, we can. Oh, looks like you got it. It's Dennis. All right, let's see here. Mr. Matthew, do you have a win that you would like to share with the group?
Still waiting on that military one. It's been like, you know how the military is.
Yep. No. Yeah. I think you shared that one.
Couple of weeks ago.
Last time that I had called on you, a couple of weeks ago. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did a couple single t-shirts. One my brother designed. It's kind of a corny one, but I have a come in and buy them. I have a CBD store, so we have t-shirts out front.
Right on. So you got your brother doing the graphics, you're doing the printing, and you guys got the storefront.
Yeah, we do. Kids do the graphics too. They do buttons. We have these little kind of funky little buttons.
Oh, cool.
I do t-shirts of these too.
Oh yeah, look at that little pizza slice.
They got that. They got like Edgar Allan Poe, some Einstein. We're gonna do a bunch of t-shirts like that. I'm still working on my Shopify page and Etsy and all that.
Getting there on the website stuff. Cool. Yeah. Okay, awesome. Thank you for sharing, Mr. Matthew. Let's go for one more. Dennis, we were just talking earlier, but if you've got a win that you'd like to share with the group, we'd like to hear it.
Yeah, my biggest win is we've had this DTG for what, 4 months now?
Yeah, you've had your FreeJet for a while.
And we actually started using it last night for the first time.
Yeah.
And we're very excited about it because, yeah, I got it figured out. We got a lot of business for it. And we opened our 60th store. So we've got like 60 between businesses and schools. We've got 60 clients that order regularly from us.
Right on. That's awesome.
That's good.
Very good, very good. And I didn't see a text from you. How did that wash test go we were talking about earlier? I might as well ask Nick.
fantastic.
Good. I'm
We're
happy
very,
to hear
very
that.
happy. We're excited.
Sweet. Okay, that's going to work out nicely. And this is a good one to tune into. We're doing maintenance for the FreeJet, so since it's been a couple of months since you've been trained, this will be a nice refresher.
That's the only reason I'm sticking around.
Awesome. Okay. All right. And my win for today, for this week, is being able to be here for this week's Creators Live. I've been wanting to cover maintenance for a couple of weeks now, so I'm really happy to be able to today. So we've got Joel on the close-up cam. Everybody give Joel a round of applause. I'm going to be putting him to work today, getting into all the nooks and crannies of this machine, show you guys what's up. Okay, so I do have the machine powered on just with the switch on the back. For maintenance stuff, we don't really need the power light on, so we're just going to go through daily, weekly, monthly. I've got some props here so we can show you guys kind of the in-close details. So we're going to start out with your daily maintenance. So daily maintenance does not mean every single day, whether you're using it or not. Daily maintenance means after you've used it. So maybe we should take it a step backwards then. If you haven't used the machine, all you need to make sure is that the printer is wet capped. And for those of you who are very, very new, you might not be familiar with the term wet capping. Hopefully you are, because that's one of the first and most important things we train you on. But if you're not familiar with wet capping, you just do function and up, undock your print head, and you're going to have your capping station right in here. And you just want to make sure, Joel, can we get in here and show this guy right here? Okay, so what you need to make sure is that you just have cleaner in there. So if it's not being used, like for Dennis, while your machine was set up and you were trained, you weren't using it for a long duration of time. So what you could have done is maybe once every 3 days, once a week, you come in, you do function up, undock that head, and check and make sure that there's cleaner down in here just like this. The last time that I used this machine was the last time you guys saw me use this machine. So I think it's been about a month now. So that's why we have some pretty bad white ink separation here. And the cleaner's getting a little bit low. And so if you come and you check on it and it's a little bit low, you just open the clip, you top it off. But for now, we're going to go ahead and leave it. We're going to talk about cleaning here. Okay, so what we want, we're going to be back over here. Main cam, please, sir. All right, so we're going to be talking about the maintenance now. So that's if you haven't used it. You just come in, you check the wet cap, everything should be looking good. If you did use it and you're shutting down for the day, your first step, you clip the lines, you do your normal shutdown routine, and cleaning the capping station is something I feel that a lot of people maybe misunderstand. You don't need to clean the sponges themselves, these little sponges. You're cleaning the edges around the sponges. So you'll notice that this part is kind of rubbery. It's a little bit flexible, and ink does build up on there. But this is the part that docks with the print head to give it a nice seal. If it was too rigid, it wouldn't make a nice seal. So what ends up happening, let me see, is, what's a good way to show this? Okay, so the print head comes over and docks like so. So you can see these two, let's see here. So you see these two parts connect together very nicely. If this area is dirty, it's not going to dock nicely to your print head. And oh my gosh, this print head is beat up. This is one of our, beater print heads that we do educational stuff on. So forgive the dents and dings. Yours should not ever look like that. Holy moly. Okay, so if this guy is clean and this one is dirty, you're still not going to get a good seal on the print head. So I'm going to throw on gloves because I'm going to be handling these parts and they're a little bit dirty here. What we want to be doing is just making sure that all the parts that need to come in contact are nice and clean. And you would do that with some super cleaner. If it's been a while, let's say you guys have been running the machine and you haven't been cleaning the underside of the head, for example, it might be pretty built up, and we'll talk about strategies for that particular part. But anytime you have a lot of buildup, let's say on the wiper blade as well, that gets built up very easily because the ink tends to blend in with the rubber wiper blade. You want to use the super nozzle cleaner, so the extra strength cleaner, this one. So this will help break down that ink a little better, and it'll start to kind of slough off and kind of disintegrate there. And for any of that, you're just using a regular lint-free swabs. Get it from us, Amazon, wherever. So you're cleaning around the edges, down the middle. So you're doing the edges, down the middle, and then both sides and the top edge of this wiper blade. This wiper blade is one of the most important things that people neglect a lot. So you'll see on mine, see how it's nice and smooth? It's one flat color. If you guys take a look at yours, I would expect it to be a little bit stained, usually from the white ink, but it should still be smooth. If it's bumpy, that's ink buildup, and it just looks like it's the same color as it was before. That's a really common thing, and I want you guys to check it. If you have your printer there next to you, I recommend you maybe check that while we're on the call, just so you don't forget, because this will lead to a lot of problems with your nozzle check not being very good and degrading over time, and it makes the other parts of, let's say, the underside of your print head dirty as you do head cleanings. So it ends up working against you if you don't clean this properly. So your daily maintenance consists of cleaning the edges here, both sides and the top edge here. Make sure it's nice and clean. And then I recommend at the end of each day, you're gonna clean the edges here on the undercarriage. We used to recommend weekly, but what I find is that just touching it up daily is easier. That ink buildup will come off easier, and you'll keep it more clean overall. If you do it weekly, that ink has time to dry up and it'll be thicker and the ink buildup will stick on better. So I recommend daily, and let me show you the technique for that, because on the FreeJet it can be a little bit tricky to access. One of my favorite ways to do this is you have the platen off of your print table, you hit standby, and then you're going to do function up, and while it's here at the front, you can squat down and get down here, and you have much easier access under there versus traditionally you would have it here at the back. And I'm sure a lot of you guys do it this way, where you kind of hunch over and you clean like this, or like you do the mirror thing and then you're working in reverse. Who uses the mirror to clean the undercarriage like that? It's a pain, right? I see Michelle nodding her head. So hopefully bringing it to the front helps you out a little bit. Another way, if let's say the knees aren't great, my hip, it gives me grief a lot. So if the knee or the hip is not great and just stooping down is not a great option for you, you can do the same thing like we were saying for bending down, but especially for my right-handed folks, you just lower your print table all the way down and you can get to it from the back, and you have a little bit easier of a time because then your dominant hand is under rather than going from above. Maybe that'll help, maybe it won't. That's the way I do it, and I get it pretty clean, consistent enough to be running without problems every time I need it to. And it looks like we have Dennis Butler joining us. Thank you, sir. Good to see you. All right, and we have Christy kind of coming in and out with the camera. Hi, Christy. So you kind of predicted what I was going to segue to. Those of you who do not have your cameras on, please go ahead and do so. This is a group session, And you know, the face-to-face helps me to interact with you and probably helps you to interact with me a little bit to an extent too. And I did see a hand go up. I think it was Benjamin. Oh, maybe he was agreeing. Okay. Okay, so daily maintenance should be no problem. Everybody clear on daily maintenance? Clean your capping station, wiper blade, underside of the print head. A note about cleaning around the print head. Okay, so a note about cleaning the underside of the print head carriage. So yes, you do not clean the mirrored surface. This is called the nozzle plate. That's where all your ink comes out. It's super delicate. It's got thousands of tiny holes, and that's not what you need to be cleaning with your swab. You'll scratch it, you'll clog the holes, something's gonna go wrong, and it's not great. That's part of the reason that head strikes are bad, is because these holes are so tiny, they're really easy to clog up. Your wiper blade should be cleaning this. So if you see bubbles and stuff on it, your head cleanings are what's meant to get in there. You're cleaning the edges around, including the bottom edge here. There's a little indent. Can we get in any closer? So you may see there's a little indent, a little ridge right here on the corner edge of the print head, and that'll be at the front and the back here. So that will build up with ink over time as well. Usually when you have like little stringy lines in your print and you're getting like a little stringy smear, it'll be ink buildup that built up in these channels and then fell down and is getting dragged on your print surface. So keep these areas clean too, just like that. Come in on the side. And for all of this, you're using super cleaner. If it's really badly built up, super nozzle cleaner. Another important piece to keep in mind here, let me see if I can get a good angle on it. This little plastic ramp here. This guy, super important to keep clean, because when you do the head cleanings, the wiper blade uses this to get up onto the level of the print head without kind of doing a little skip. So it kind of ramps it up. So if this area is dirty, this edge of the print head channels will be worse than this side, because it'll be kind of a bumpy start and then it'll smooth out. So I'm not sure if any of you have noticed that. This might be something to look at. Make sure this is nice and clean. It should be the same black plastic as the rest of the undercarriage. It should all look the same down there. And additionally, there's a little space between the little bracket for the nozzle plate and this black plastic. If you can't tell where the black plastic ends and that nozzle plate bracket begins, that should also be cleaned out. Sometimes what is easiest for that, you just run, your thumbnail down the channel and that'll do the trick. Just got to keep this sucker clean. Everybody clear on that? So far so good? Victor Rubio, you learning anything yet? Doing all your maintenance wrong? I think he's still on the phone. Okay. Fine, be that way, Victor. I see how it is. Okay, all right, so daily maintenance, all set. So next is your weekly maintenance. So for weekly maintenance, you're gonna need 70% alcohol, which I keep in a spray bottle, and then little lint-free cloth. So for this, I just cut the sleeve off of a white t-shirt. There's no pre-treat on here. It's just actually this white shirt here. Cut the sleeve off. And you just cut it up into little squares, and there you go. So for this one, you'll do function up, undock the head. Get some alcohol onto your cloth. Set this to the side. And what we're cleaning, let's get close up. We're going to be cleaning the encoder strip. So that's this guy right here. I'm touching it. It's a thin gray plastic strip, goes end to end, all the way across. If you look very closely, this will have very, very thin, light-colored gray lines on it. And those lines, the print head will count it as it's moving left and right across the machine. And that's what gives it something called registration. So that's how the print head knows where it is from the left and right. It counts the lines, and that's how it knows how far it's traveled. If this encoder strip is dirty, it can either miscount or it'll just get lost and then error out. So if you find that on startup, you know, the printer does its thing over on this side, it's kind of moving around, and then as soon as it comes across, it errors out. It's probably, first thing I would suspect is your encoder strip is super dirty. So you'll just get alcohol on a cloth, pinch, and wipe. So 70% isopropyl. You don't want to do anything stronger than that because over time you can damage the encoder strip, either by making it too brittle and then it breaks, or you can eventually damage the markings on the strip. So as you can see, I haven't done this maintenance in a while. My cloth here got quite dirty. Let's see. Oh, well, you guys can't really tell. It's too bright in here, I think. But it's pretty dirty, so I'm glad I did that. Cleaning the encoder strip is super important. Don't use anything stronger than 70%. We'll go ahead and continue anyway. So weekly maintenance, just cleaning that guy. So we'll hit function for now. And we can throw this guy away. I'll throw it over there. Okay. Any questions about cleaning the encoder strip? I'm going to call on you guys a little bit here. Pop quiz. What is the monthly maintenance? And Victor pulls out the phone. He's like, oh, I got to make a call real quick. Stacy, let's hear from Miss Stacy. She's shaking her head. She doesn't like to be called on, huh?
I don't mind being called on. I just came in late because I had surgery yesterday and I'm on medication. So I do.
Oh, so we're going to get a good answer.
Yeah, well, it's true. See, look.
Oh, man.
Right, my right hand worked on, but I don't do my maintenance on a weekly or a monthly. I actually just do it all the time because I notice sometimes when I'm doing stuff, you know, I'll find like a little slide, what's a slide mark, but it's really not. It's just ink buildup. So every day I look and make sure there's no ink. And then once a week, I do all of my monthly maintenance because that way I know that my machine is running and purring like a little kitty cat and I don't have any issues with it. So, well, I've had one issue since I've owned it and it was so minor. I just had to do a reset on it because a job got jammed up in it. So I had nothing to do with my maintenance.
Nice. So, happy to hear that. So you took all of the maintenance and you basically shortened it by a week or two.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, like I noticed that the carbon will build up on the rod a little bit more and I just see it there and it bugs the crap out of me. So why not clean it and just make sure everything's running perfectly? And I know like sometimes the head can get stuck, you know, so I just learned a lot of tips from just talking to the tech support on, you know, making sure that everything's moving freely and cleaned and I don't have any issues with my prints.
Awesome. So you hit the nail on the head. So the next one that I was going to talk about is cleaning your print carriage bar. So that's this chrome guy that's going left and right. That the print head travels on. It's really important that you keep it nice and greased. Like Stacy was saying, it gets that buildup, and over time that can cause the print head to travel inconsistently, poorly, whatever you want to call it. But doing this maintenance is pretty quick, pretty easy. Everyone tends to have a little bit of a different technique for it. But the bottom line is you need a clean cloth to wipe the grease off of the bar. So you want to wipe the old grease off, and then you can put new grease on. So we'll start by wiping off the old grease. We'll do function up. And I do what I like to affectionately call the shoe shine method. So I'll take my piece of cloth and I'll run it behind the bar, and if I can get it at the right angle here, it'll just kind of come down. It's not being nice to me right now. Get down there. "99% of the time, this is super quick and easy. It's just because I'm on camera that it's giving me a pain." Okay, so let me take it to the center bar here so you guys can see. So as you can see, I've got it strung behind the bar. So what I can do now is just pull it along, and I'll get most of the bar this way. I don't particularly care to get this edge over by the capping station. I'll just move it, and I'll just manually wipe that like so. So I've got all that old grease off. It's actually been a while since I've done this one too, so this is perfect. Crossing in front of the camera there, sorry guys. All right, and so now what we'll do, we'll get some fresh grease on there. Really big disclaimer while you're doing this, do not, and I mean do not, get grease up on the belt here. This belt is what drives your print head left and right when you're using it. And if you get that greased up, you are in a world of problems. It'll slip on the little motors here, and it's not something that you would clean off. It's something that you take apart and you replace. And getting this guy off and replaced is a pain. Anyone in the chat ever had to replace the belt here? Better hope it stays that way. It's not fun. It's really involved. Don't recommend it. So what we'll do, get some grease, a little bit here, and I'm just putting little globs every inch or so, and a little bit on the bottom as well. Move the head, a little more grease, just little globs on the bottom, and cap up your grease. And what you'll do, I'm going to go ahead and wipe off my hand here because I got it all greasy, and we'll just push this left and right, spread out that grease, be real gentle with the head, be patient with it, get it nice and spread out. You'll have some extra on the ends, and that's normal. And there you have it. So now we've got that greased. And the last item, which used to be considered monthly maintenance, I'm going to say should be as needed. So any questions about the print carriage bar for now? Okay, so we'll go ahead and hit function, dock the head. Okay, so I'm going to come around to this side and turn our machine here towards our close-up cam. All right, so last one, this is as needed. We're going to be getting into this side panel here, and this is to clean the encoder wheel. So generally, the only reason that you're going to be getting in here is if you're experiencing registration offset to the top and bottom, where your white and your color layers don't line up vertically. So yeah, so top and bottom offset if you have the white poking out above or below your print. And not consistently all around. It's got to be, you know, even, and then you can suspect this guy. So the part that we're suspecting is dirty is this clear plastic wheel. So it's going to be right in here. Typically, what I'll do is I'll get a can of like compressed air, turn the machine off, blast this area with some nice air duster, and then turn the machine on, and you're done. That's the way I do it, because really all that's settling down here is going to be dust. If that doesn't do the trick, you would clean this with 70% alcohol, just like the encoder strip. So I'll get a clean cloth, and I'm not going to get grease on it. You will, like so. Let's put this on the floor. Turn the machine off with the switch on the back. I'm going to close the lid so I have a little handle. We can zoom out a smidge, please. I want to show them what I'm doing with my left hand here as well. So we're going to use the cloth with the alcohol, gently pinch the wheel. And I've got my other hand with the machine off, and I'm going to push the gantry very gently forward. And as I push it forward, that wheel is spinning between my fingers, and that's how you clean it off. You want to be very careful with it. That little piece of plastic is flexible, but you don't want to test its flexibility. Snapping that is a pain in the butt too. Stacy's smiling like she's broken it before. No? Okay. It's a pain if you break that, so that's also something you want to be careful of. So just a gentle pinch and a push. Once you're done, give it a couple of seconds for that alcohol to evaporate, turn it back on. And then you can put this guy back on. I'll let it run back so the camera can kind of see this thing spin. Okay. And there we have it. That's gonna be your guys' maintenance. Now I know we didn't use up all of our time, so what I wanna do is spend the rest of the time on other maintenance adjacent questions if you have any, or anything related to running the machine, cleaning stuff, things like that. Does anybody have any questions about that? My longtime OmniPrint people, those of you who have had the FreeJet for a while, if you have any additional tips to share, Victor Rubio, Stacy, if you guys have other tips that maybe I didn't touch on that help the machine run, we would love to hear it.
Sorry, I was on a call, so if you could start over, that'd be great.
Okay, all right. So starting with daily maintenance.
Thank you. I'm just kidding.
Stacy looked like she had one. Stacy?
I didn't hear the beginning, but did you shake the ink?
We didn't talk about shaking the ink, so that there's a good topic. So let me talk about that a little bit. So this would be something that you do in the morning. I would classify this more under your startup routine, but it's still super important to do, even if you have a plus. So in here, I'm gonna just take this one out and set it here.
If I can give a tip on
Yes,
this one.
please do.
So I take a paper towel and I'll fold it up into a little square that fits on top of that. And when I shake it up, I make sure that I get ink on the paper towel, because that lets me know that the hole on the top of the bottle, it didn't get clogged, because if it gets clogged, you don't have the right circulation. And then I turn it for each of the 8 that I do. And I make sure that I have ink on that paper towel and it doesn't go everywhere, because when you shake it the first time before you realize there's a hole in it, it does make a hot mess.
That is a very good one. So I will demonstrate.
Yeah, I tried using the gloves, but then you get different color inks all the way across.
Yeah, so I'm mainly putting on the gloves to show up close what's going on inside the bottle. So if we can, please. So what we're looking at inside the bottle here, you have 2 tubes. If it's the plus, it'll be 1 tube on every bottle if it's the 330TX. And you'll see 1 is in and 1 is the out. So when you do circulation, it does suck the ink in a big loop through the system. But the the tube only reaches about this far down on the bottle because when the printer is idle, the ink does settle, and you'll have maybe a 1/16 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch of like settled white ink pigment here at the bottom. And so what Stacy was saying is and now I'll take my gloves off. I thought I was gonna get a little messier there. So what you wanna do is stick your finger over the hole. You give it that swirl. Most of you probably learned the swirl technique in training. And it's prudent to sometimes do some of this. And you'll notice, actually, can we tell if we zoom in here?
It might be too bright.
I think it is too bright. Can we turn off the overhead light? Let's see if we can tell. That might help. So you see that layer there at the bottom? That might be the glare. There we go. Okay, so you see that layer of ink buildup there at the bottom of the bottle. That's what we're doing our best to agitate and reintroduce into the ink system. After you do this, it's really important that you run your circulation again, because your circulation, when it was doing it automatically, was not using this pigment. So you're going to have a much whiter white after you do this. So you do that for all of your bottles. Granted, this machine has been pretty idle. Here, I'm going to bring it around to this side. This machine has been pretty idle for the last year. I really only use it for Creators Live and the occasional demo when customers come in, or showing people maintenance stuff when they come in for picking up their orders and stuff. When Victor was coming in to complain to me about the sheet size, I was showing him this machine. And so we'll turn it upside down, get some of that going. And when you do this very vigorous shaking, do allow a little bit of time for the ink to settle before you start doing the circulation again. That's pretty important to note, because you don't want to pull the bubbles into the system. And then, I guess while we're on this sort of topic, make sure you guys are cleaning up ink spills. For example, when I was showing you guys the underside of the head, I got a little bit of ink that spilled right here. It's easier to clean it up now than it is. There we go. Yeah, like this. Over time, you get all these little ink buildups and spills and things, and it's just so much easier when you take care of that preventatively. Because all I have to do, blast that with a little bit of alcohol, and I'm done. Where if you let it dry, sometimes that alcohol is going to turn into scrubbing, and then at that point, you might as well just repolish the print surface here, or the printing bed. Same thing's gonna apply when you're looking at this guy right here, this little box. Let's see. So over time, this guy here will fill up with ink. There's a little pad inside, so that takes longer. And it gets some pretty serious ink buildup over the top of the lid. Let's see if we can get a nice angle on it. There you go. So you see this pad down here is not fully saturated, so I can let that stay. But what I'm going to do is kind of just clean up the lid there, because what I've seen in the past is sometimes it can get so built up that eventually that ink buildup can touch the print head. So keep this guy nice and clean for your own good, because this metal should be shiny. You'll see right now it was kind of that like dull luster, and it's shiny, and just over time it catches that overspray. When the print head comes over here to spit into the box, there's a little bit of overspray there, and yeah, so keep that guy clean too. Sometimes you'll get ink buildup over on the opposite side over here. as the print head comes across, sometimes it's a little bit drippy and you'll get some ink buildup here. So if you have that, go ahead and clean that up too. But I mean, I think that's pretty much it. Empty your waste bottle before it gets half full. Does anybody else have any tips or tricks to add? We've talked about doing your height adjustment with the lid closed because of overhead lights. Was everybody who's in here for that one? Or should I go into that? No? Okay, let's talk about that a little bit because that's an important one. Oh, Stacy has a question.
Did you cover that little wiper bladey thing?
Yes, yeah, on the capping station we did a bunch talking about the wiper blade there.
Yeah.
Keeping that guy clean is super important. It is possible to, actually, one other thing I wanted to talk about. It is possible to take the wiper blade off of the pump unit, but it is a pain in the butt to put it back on. So I don't recommend removing it to clean, no matter how built up it is. Get in there with needle nose pliers if you have to and peel the ink off, but don't remove that guy because it's a pain in the butt to put back in. And if you don't put it back in right, your head cleanings aren't going to be right and you're going to have more problems. Okay, all right, so I think that'll do it. Any other questions? Neutrinia asks, did that come out of the printer? Yes, so this is where your print head docks. This is called the capping station wiper blade unit. So that's what this guy is. Are there any other questions that you guys have about maintaining the FreeJet? Just general operational questions, anything like that?
What are the two buttons in the front for?
These guys?
Yeah.
This is your table up and down. The reason that we like to have those there, you have your main control panel up and down buttons, but it's nice when you're working with a very uneven surface, like a very fluffy jacket, where the print area is flat, but it's very thick. So you have the table all the way down. So you would want to manually check and adjust the height and make sure everything's going to clear it. And a lot of the time you'll be sat here at the front at eye level with the head, and you can make those adjustments using these buttons. It's not used super often, but you have it if you need it. All right, Rybeats. How's it going,
Hey,
sir?
so good. How are you doing? I have a question. So I got my FreeJet secondhand,
Okay.
and it's pretty filthy, but I'm getting a pool of ink on the, if you're looking at the front where the buttons were on the left side of it, on your right, the other side, on the bottom footing. So I don't know where it's coming from. I'm sure it's pulling up and is dripping somewhere. You have an idea where that's coming from? I mean, I do have to clean it, like I said, but
So it's going to be, first thing I would look at is that box that's over here. See if that guy's overflowing. Maybe in transit it overflowed. Did you find that this side of the machine was particularly dirty when you received it? Because they may not have cleaned this before shipping it.
no, it's it is. I know I need to clean that, but it's I think it's coming from under the head where the little sponge is, but I don't know how to go about cleaning that.
Okay.
I think that's a sponge, right?
Yeah, so there's a little pad down here. It's similar to the one that's over on this side. So when you do your part replacement for the pump, typically you'll be instructed to replace that pad as well if it's showing signs of soakage. So we do sell that pad. It's already cut into the right shape and everything if you need it. And you do have to take the pump out to replace it nicely. It's kind of a pain to jimmy it out and not ideal. But you want to be really careful. You want to really make sure you're looking at the right area. It's It would be very concerning if there's a large volume of ink that's coming out of this side, dripping down into this corner. That's a lot of ink. So I think a little bit of investigative work might be due. My highest suspicion is this guy right over here. Maybe this is overflowing or something. That would be my number one guess. And if this one is showing signs that it's just totally soaked through and it's a bunch of liquid down there, then one of the older creators' lives does talk about replacing the pump. So you might try starting there with it and going through the process step by step. Take the pump out, clean everything while the printer's off if you have a lot of liquid down there, and start from there.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Stacy's got a question.
On that one side, on the opposite side, yeah, that one right there. How often should you replace that? Should you put another piece of sponge in there as you're going? What's the rule of thumb on that?
So it's going to depend on how attentive you are. So if you're going to notice when this is starting to get full, then I would say just stick a syringe in there and suck out the excess. And then that's
What
it.
is full? What does full look like? What does that mean?
When there's a puddle of ink.
Okay.
Yeah, when it's no longer saturated sponge, it's just a pool of liquid. That's when you stick the syringe in there, suck out the excess. If you're not very attentive and you're not looking over there that much, or you're afraid that you'll forget and it might overflow or something, replace the pad. And it's super easy. There's a screw on this side and there's a screw on this side. The box comes out, you clean it, and then you put it back.
Thanks.
And I believe there's instructions for that in the user manual found on the knowledge base. All right, okay. Can I see a raise of hands? Who found today's topic helpful? Hopefully many. I think this is really important to cover periodically. Maybe every 3 months we'll touch back up on maintenance because it's so important. A lot of people forget and start skipping steps, things like that. And it opens up the opportunity for people to improve their process. So I really appreciate you guys joining in today. We did get Christy's ticket number here, so I'll take a look at that after this, Christy. And I will see you guys next Wednesday. Bye, y'all.